I was hanging out with Rico from StreetScores, and man, we got a shocking Austin Ekeler update earlier today. Also, is Marshawn Lattimore going to be ready for the playoffs? Dan Quinn gave us a clue to why we should be optimistic about those chances. Also, the Vikings did what to the Lions? Hey man, Josh Harris, Magic Johnson, all of y'all, I'm gonna need y'all to do this exact same thing. We're gonna dive into what that is. Also, it looks like Trey Lance will play versus the Washington Commanders in this game coming up tomorrow. But you already know that this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And before we get into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Of course, I will be live streaming all 4 quarters of this upcoming Dallas game tomorrow. The regular season finale. We've already celebrated making the playoffs, but to end the season and potentially have 12 wins after only winning 4 games last year, that's going to be due for a celebration in itself. And y'all already know, man, even if the starters don't play the entire game, I'm excited about breaking down and analyzing, doing play-by-play for a lot of the backups. Guys like Chris Rodriguez, we got to see and evaluate if some of these guys that haven't been getting a lot of playing time deserve more playing time going into the future 2025 and beyond. So make sure you pull up for that live stream, stay the entire live stream, and we'll do a victory call-in show after the win as well. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so with Austin Ekeler, we were told yesterday, Friday, January 3rd, the exact quote from the Athletics' Ben Standig was, quote, "Some good news Wednesday. Austin Ekeler joined the team in full. He practiced today, his first full week eligible to come back with a concussion. Dan Quinn seemed pretty optimistic about things. If he is able to go and give Washington what he saw earlier this year, I think this is a huge deal for this team because the running game has gotten more stale and quieter since Ekeler left." And I completely agree. Just to take a break from the Ben Standig quote real quick, I mean, to pretty much break it down, is Austin Ekeler's explosion, his ability not only just to pass protect for Jaden Daniels very well, but also even just as a running back, as a receiving target, it keeps defenses honest. That's why it seemed like holes were just open in the middle for Brian Robinson more when Austin Ekeler was healthy. Even though Austin Ekeler isn't necessarily the type of guy that runs in between the tackles as much as Brian Robinson, defenses having to game plan and worry about Austin Ekeler on an every snap basis. I mean, there are times where Austin Ekeler and Brian Robinson are on the field at the same time. Defenses have to respect Austin Ekeler's explosion, his ability to get out horizontally to the outsides and things like that. Whereas when there's no Austin Ekeler, the defense knows, well, Brian Robinson is going to pretty much take it in between the tackles, and if he doesn't, he's going to be slow anyway, and we can always recover and not prioritize that and still find a way to get him down at or behind the line of scrimmage. So, well, Austin Ekeler coming back, that's going to be big time for our run game. We can dive into like a super X's and O's things, but we'll be here all day because I still have a lot of other things to report. Going back to Ben Standig, he said they were doing 2 running back sets a decent amount of the time, somewhere in the 15 to 20% range, but they rarely do it now, and in part because none of the other running backs are real route running, pass catching running backs. So if Ekeler is able to come back, that really gives Washington a good dimension there out of the backfield. Dan Quinn talked about his ability to be, you know, a swervy, shifty kind of running back, and that is very helpful, unquote. So basically, Austin Ekeler gave us a full week of practice. But even then, I was still saying, hey, man, no matter how healthy he is, I would probably hold him out of the regular season finale. I just don't necessarily think it's worth it to go ahead and throw him out there. Just save him for the playoffs, man. Those head injuries are no joke. I mean, we're talking about life after football, life outside of football, mentally, being able to spend time with his wife, his family, and being fully there mentally, and all of that type of stuff emotionally. So that's what I'm worried about. Not even just Brady and goal wise. I'm worried about like his actual life outside of football. So that's why I'm like, man, I don't know. Unless we like absolutely need him like a playoff game, cool. But against these Dallas Cowboys where, I mean, at worst case scenario, we lose, we fall to the 7th seed, but you're still going to the playoffs. I don't particularly see it that much. But then some people brought up some good points. We'll get there soon. But today, as in Saturday, January 4th, Ian Rappaport tweeted that the Commanders are activating veteran running back Austin Ekeler from the injured reserve after dealing with a concussion, source says, and he'll play tomorrow. Whoa. And then the Washington Commanders immediately updated directly through their own Twitter account. They activated running back Austin Ekeler off the reserve injured list and removed him from the injury report. Also placed safety Tyler Owens on the injured reserve list. So my dog, Tyler Owens, that's the one bad news. My dog, Tyler Owens, my boy, injured reserve. He's been dealing with an injury for the past couple of weeks, and they just went ahead and ended this season right there. And then they also elevated tackle Bobby Hart and cornerback Bobby Price from the practice squad. I'm not expecting them to play against the Cowboys unless we get really deep into the backups, but I think they were just more so guys that just in case if there's injuries or anything like that, maybe they'll play. We'll see. I mean, we probably will sit our starters by halftime if we're up enough. Maybe then you see people like that, but I highly doubt it, because I wouldn't even throw Marcus Mariota, our second string quarterback, out there with a guy like Bobby Hart. So if Bobby Hart's out there, we're out there with, whoever. At that point, one of us is playing quarterback. But Austin Ekeler is 29 years old. Remember, he missed Washington's last 4 games after suffering a second concussion this season in the first meeting against the Dallas Cowboys on November 24th, 5 days before my birthday. His return boasts an efficient, high-scoring offense led by rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels, and the Commanders clinched the NFC 6th seed with a victory over the Dallas Cowboys. We have something to play for. Dan Quinn said last week, we want to really win that game. Joe Witt Jr. said just a couple of days ago, we really want to win that game. And then also the dual offensive threat has 355 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns, along with 33 receptions and 346 rushing yards. Ekeler's contributions include averaging 31.3 yards on 19 kick returns as well. Don't forget that he was a kick return demon. Through the first few weeks of the season, I was making an argument that he's probably top 3 kick returner, and even up to the point, even where we are now after him missing a few games, I still feel like he's a top 5 kick returner in the NFL. He's been so explosive. So then, and shouts out to Grant Paulson for bringing this up, Austin Ekeler was activated today. Looks like he'll play tomorrow versus the Dallas Cowboys, returning against the Dallas team that he got hurt against. Remember that was on a special teams play. Ekeler is a PB alternate as a kick returner, and he averages a half a yard more per carry than Brian Robinson. He's also leading Washington backs in catches despite missing 4 games this season already. That's the type of explosion and efficiency that you've been missing since Austin Ekeler's been gone. It really matters. I don't think it's any coincidence that whenever Austin Ekeler is not playing, that our run game looks way worse than when he is playing. But again, I personally still feel like we shouldn't necessarily risk him against the Cowboys, but I guess he'll be fine as long as we don't throw him out there on kick returns, because that's where he keeps getting hurt. That's where the concussions are coming from. So maybe don't do that, at least until in the playoff games. Like if we need him to do it in playoff games, maybe, but definitely don't throw him out there in kick returns against the Dallas Cowboys in a game that we don't necessarily have to win, especially playoffs wise. And Luke McCaffrey's looked pretty good on kick returns. He hasn't looked like Austin Ekeler, but maybe again, since Austin Ekeler is by far the best kick returner we have on roster, then maybe you use him in playoff games, but not against this Dallas Cowboys regular season finale. But also, the main positive that I take from this news, even though I'm still uncomfortable with him playing against the Dallas Cowboys, the main positive that I take from this is that we know for sure that he's good for the playoffs if he's even able to play this upcoming Sunday tomorrow in the regular season finale. If he's able to play tomorrow, I know he can play next Sunday. So that's just great news by itself. He's our best yards after catch weapon on the entire team. Olamide Zaccheaus has stepped up recently. Zach Ertz did pretty well with it last week, and Terry McLaurin has his moments where he's giving you a lot of yak, but Austin Ekeler was by far our most consistent yak guy on the team. And so having him back is going to be huge. That's going to scare defenses and allow us to probably run the ball way better than we have been the past few weeks, literally since like the Titans game before the bye week. Also, shouts out to George Carmi for tweeting this. He said that Logan Paulson touched on this as far as the take command goes. He said it's probably smart for him to get a few reps tomorrow against the Dallas Cowboys, shake the cobwebs off, and build confidence going into the playoff games. Concussions are no joke, but who becomes inactive now, McNichols or Rodriguez? And I want to take away multiple points there. Again, I'm still uncomfortable with them playing, but I see the argument that maybe he needs to get in some reps. Maybe he doesn't play a lot against the Dallas Cowboys, but he plays. Maybe he's on some sort of like a pitch count, but I do see the point that he probably does need to knock off some of the cobwebs, get some of his momentum back so that he's not coming in just raw against whoever we end up playing in a wild card game next week, and then he's just all over the place. He's trying to get back into football shape. Maybe him running the ball a few times, getting hit, taking some punishment and a little bit, just to kind of get his body back into shape, dealing with football soreness, football pain, and things like that. Maybe that could help him. And then, of course, mentally just going through the reps. I mean, game action is different from anything that you can simulate in practice, so that will also be big. And then also the second point, yeah, that's a good point. With Austin Ekeler back, who does not play? Because Chris Rodriguez ran his tail off in that pass game against the Falcons last weekend. I can't even see how you can bench a guy that ran that hard. I mean, he broke like 8 tackles in like a 3-4 run carry span that like Jaden Daniels carried us from like the 20-yard line to the red zone from 20 to 20. And then Chris Rodriguez literally put his hand on his shoulder and said, I'll take it from here. He broke like 3 tackles one play, broke another 1 or 2 the next play. And then he scored the touchdown off of a broken tackle on AJ Terrell on a screen pass out of the backfield. Like, come on, man. Like, I just don't know how you don't play a guy giving that much effort. I love Brian Robinson, but Chris Rodriguez is our best tackle breaker right now. And then even Jeremy McNichols, that 4th down extra effort that he gave, that even pretty much gave us a chance to even potentially win that game against the Falcons, was huge. I don't know how you sit him, so I don't know. I don't think we go into the playoffs or even this Cowboys game with a 4 active running backs, but I don't know who you sit, man. I don't know who's inactive going into that game. Do you steal from another position group like offensive lineman? I doubt it. So somebody's got to sit. But, man, Chris Rodriguez makes an excellent case as to why he should not be the one that sits. And then also, moving on to Marshawn Lattimore, Quinn said just yesterday, as in Friday, January 3rd, Dan Quinn said, quote, I love the speed he's working with, and he's certainly very close, unquote. To me, that sounds like a guy that will be playing next week in the playoffs, whether it's the Rams, Buccaneers, Eagles, whoever. Even though I'm assuming it will be either the Rams or the Buccaneers at the end of the day, but the Rams are sitting their starters, so I guess the Bucs it is. But at the end of the day, Marshawn Lattimore sounds like he will play. But shouts out to Grant Paulson, because even though I prefer to play the Rams for reasons I've already given you in previous videos, like I feel like we can take over that stadium home crowd-wise. I feel like Jaden Daniels being able to play at home in front of his family and friends and everything like that would be fantastic. But Grant Paulson brings up some good points as to why we should probably prefer to play against the Buccaneers as well. He said, 1, Washington has a cornerback issue. I'd rather play a team with 1 great wide receiver in Mike Evans than 2 in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Good point. Number 2, easier travel. Stay on your coast and play in your time zone rather than flying across the country. I can see that as well. Number 3, the familiarity of having already played in that stadium this season and against that opponent may help normalize the game for us. Number 4, Baker Mayfield is red hot, but he does lead the league in turnover-worthy plays. He will give you a couple of chances to make a play on the ball. And then last but not least, 5th, Washington is banged up at tackle. The Rams have a better edge rusher in verse than the Bucs do. Tampa Bay's best rushers live on the inside, where Washington is actually healthier right now. Those are all excellent points. At this point, I'm like Buccaneers, Rams, whoever it is, bring it on. I still prefer the Rams outside of football, but like on the field wise, I can see, I think all of these arguments are fair. Rams off the field wise and home field advantage and all of that type of stuff, taking over the stadium and making it feel like a home game, versus the Buccaneers, all that on the field advantage things. I can see that. I can see all of that. But this also shows why we need Marshawn Lattimore so bad. First of all, we need our best corner just in general. Like, it would be nice to have the corner that you traded all of those draft picks that you're paying all of that money for. It would be nice to just have him, just period. But especially after we just went against the Buccaneers week 1 and their best receiver in Mike Evans was killing all of our corners that ever covered him. So hopefully Lattimore is the answer to that. But also, secondly, Lattimore versus Mike Evans is probably the only receiver versus corner matchup in the entire NFL that truly has bad blood, where like they clearly hate each other. Like, for sure, no doubt about it, hate each other, will not shake each other's hands, no GGs after the game like Lattimore and AJ Brown had for each other. There will be none of that between those two. So if anybody is not afraid of Mike Evans, it's Marshawn Lattimore out of anybody in our cornerback group. And then on top of that, Lattimore is the only corner we have on this entire roster who has ever had any sort of success covering Mike Evans at any point in his career. I mean, he may not necessarily win every time, but at least he's won at least once. That's more than you can say for any other corner on this entire roster right now. Even though we gotta cut Sanford Still some slack just for being a rookie in his first NFL game ever. We played them week 1 when we played against Mike Evans, and I'm not even sure if he ever even covered Mike Evans at any point in that game. But my point is, Marshawn Lattimore is the only cornerback we have on our entire roster that has had any sort of success in the past against Mike Evans. We need him if we end up playing the Buccaneers. We need him if we're going to play the Rams. I mean, it doesn't really matter either way. But the Buccaneers especially, just go ahead and let let him cover Mike Evans all day. Let Baker Mayfield throw those turnover-worthy plays, and I think we could walk away with a win there. I like our chances against the Rams and the Buccaneers. I mean, again, I felt like by the time we already beat the Bengals that we were better than the Buccaneers. They just caught us at the best time when we had no chemistry. We knew nothing about anything that was going on. Jaden Daniels wasn't even looking up while he was running at the time. He still had his bad college habits of whenever he scrambled, he was taking off running. He was not looking down the field to make a play with his arm at all. Like, he was still doing a lot of rookie stuff like that. He wasn't throwing over the middle yet. He wasn't accurate. He wasn't reading defenses that well. Like, the Jaden Daniels we know now is not the Jaden Daniels that the week 1 Buccaneers got at all. So I would love to rematch them just off of that. I feel like they are the better team to play against roster wise, like Grant Paulson brought up, but at the same time, I like some of that. I love the thought of Jaden Daniels playing in LA and then us taking over the stadium and it turning into a home game. I love that too. So I'm excited out of the way, but my main thing is we need Marshawn Lattimore out of the way. And again, Dan Quinn said that he loves the speed that he's working with, and he's certainly very close. And if he's very close saying that before we even play the Cowboys tomorrow, as in Sunday, January 5th, then he should be great to go January 12th, potentially if we play on Sunday, or it might be Saturday, Monday. We'll see how that goes. But out of the way, now I also have some other injury updates for you. And as you can see on the screen right now, it's already been announced that Marshawn Lattimore, my dog Tyler Owens, because of course he went to the injured reserve, and linebacker Jordan McGee are all out Sunday versus the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not gonna lie, that's not as many people as I thought it would be. I mean, especially looking at the injury report starting Monday, I don't know, it was looking a little ugly there. But by the time we got to Friday, as in yesterday, the injury report did look better, and then they officially announced that Marshawn Lattimore's out, Tyler Owens injured reserve, Jordan McGee out. That's it. Everybody else, including Austin Ekeler, should be at least somewhat good to go. I mean, we also listed center Tyler Biadasz with an ankle injury, and tackle Cornelius Lucas, your backup right tackle, swing tackle, whatever you want to call him, with a groin injury. They're both doubtful. And at this, I mean, again, we're going against the Dallas Cowboys. You can survive against them and beat them. They don't have CeeDee Lamb. They don't have that Butler corner that turned into Darrelle Revis somehow when we played them. And I highly doubt we kick it to Turpin again. We make that same mistake again. I mean, without even just one of those things, we beat the Cowboys last time we played them. They should be without all three of those things. Don't kick the Turpin. CeeDee Lamb was the entire offense. And honestly, Butler was the entire defense, locking up everybody that we tried to throw the ball to. That was his best game of his entire life by far, and even he's hurt now. So there's just literally no excuses not to be able to beat these guys. And like I've already said before too, the Dallas Cowboys caught us off guard with that strategy where they moved their best edge rusher, Micah Parsons, inside to rush against our slower interior offensive line. We weren't ready for that. We didn't practice for that, and then they hit us with that. It caught us off guard. We never adjusted. I'm pretty sure in the past 7-8 weeks, whatever it's been, we're ready for that now. We've looked ahead and been like, okay, we can't allow another defensive line to do that to us. So they should be fully prepared for that. So without being caught off guard by that as well, I think we're going to kill. I think it's going to be a blowout. Me personally, I think it's going to be a blowout by halftime, and we'll be able to rest our starters, but we'll see. And then also running back Austin Ekeler, KJ Osborne with an illness, and long snapper Tyler Ott are all questionable. KJ Osborne with his illness is the only one that's truly questionable, because again, Austin Ekeler has technically been removed from the injury report because he's a full go. He's good to go. He's not even questionable anymore. And then Tyler Ott, his situation is really interesting because he's attending a funeral and will travel separately from the team to Dallas per Commanders spokesperson. I mean, originally the Commanders reported that Tyler Ott will not travel with the team to Dallas, but will remain questionable because that's just something you technically have to do. He has to be listed as questionable since he's traveling separately. But then earlier today, they went ahead and announced that they removed him from the injury report, and he already arrived at the team hotel after his funeral and is good to go for Sunday's game versus Dallas. So we are fully good to go outside of, again, Marshawn Lattimore, Tyler Owens, Jordan McGee being out. And then you have Tyler Biadasz and Cornelius Lucas is doubtful. And then I guess you have KJ Osborne is questionable, but we haven't seen nothing from him yet. We signed him like 3 weeks ago, and then the one game he finally was active in against the Falcons, the only time we heard his name was when he had a holding penalty on, I believe it was like an Olamide Zaccheaus screen that went for like a first down, holding on KJ Osborne. That's the only time we've heard his name. And on paper, especially before this season started, before the 2024 season, if you would have asked me back in February, I would have told you KJ Osborne is the better receiver between him and Noah Brown. But so far, Noah Brown has looked light years better than what KJ Osborne has been for us so far. But hopefully, maybe he's just a late bloomer. Maybe he figures it out and just in time for the playoffs, he just steps onto the scene and takes over as our true wide receiver 2, even more so than Lattimore and Jamison Crowder have been doing. And then that's a pretty solid receiving core, at least until we get to the offseason, until we need to go and get some bigger names there. But hopefully KJ Osborne, he hasn't figured it out yet. Maybe he'll figure it out sooner rather than later. Hopefully in time for the playoffs next weekend for whoever we play against. And before we move on to the second half of this video, y'all already know, man. This show is provided by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, and if you're looking for a new sportsbook, it should be BetUS for sure. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry, and I know y'all want y'all money fast. I know I do. And right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE150. They also have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, so it's really like, why not? Now let's take a look at some bets that we can get into directly through their website. And now, if you're an experienced better gambler, you know what I'm saying, you're really deep into the gambling trenches, if you want to bet between the Commanders and Cowboys, what will be the first scoring play of the game? If you think a Commanders field goal specifically, not just a field goal in general, but specifically a Commanders field goal will be the first score of the game, that's plus 270 odds there. Now, you can also bet maybe the Commanders score a touchdown. That's the first score of the game. Or the Commanders, any other score, I guess like a safety or a pick six, fumble recovery, anything defensive, special teams, whatever, return for a touchdown, kick return, punt return, whatever. Or if you think somehow the Cowboys will score first with a touchdown or a field goal, you could bet that too. But if you believe that the Commanders scoring a field goal will be the first points put up on the board between the Commanders and Cowboys tomorrow at plus 270 odds, you put $100 down, you will win $270 immediately. Like as soon as that first score happens and you were right, you could win $270 after putting down $100. Now, of course, I'm always going to scream at y'all to please gamble responsibly. Please do that. And before we move on to the second half of this video, again, right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YOUTUBE150. Again, please gamble responsibly. Now let's get back to the second half of this video. Let's get it. And shouts out to Disco for pointing this out back on January 3rd, so yesterday. This is a clip from June 11th when Jaden Daniels was doing some off-season workouts. He has some perfect accuracy here, and he was basically showing, like, you know, in that clip, that Jaden Daniels was extremely accurate. Disco quote tweeted the clip that you're seeing right now and said, "Now I see why this drill was so important way back in training camp. I thought they was just playing games. These throws look like the dimes that he's thrown to Zach Ertz, Lattimore Jamison Crowder, Terry McLaurin." Great point there. Great dig up by Disco right there. These things mattered. All of the things that we thought didn't necessarily matter that much in the offseason really have come up. Remember back in immediately before we even knew the playbook, before the players even knew each other, we were already doing 2-minute drill stuff for offense and defense, and now defense hasn't necessarily responded well with that. But offensively, Jaden Daniels in his offense in 2-minute situations, gotta have it, game-winning drive situations, have been the best in the NFL this year. And I believe that Dan Quinn having those guys work on that since the very beginning. We're talking about OTAs, voluntary workouts. Before, we're not even talking about mandatory minicamp or even training camp yet. Way before that, Dan Quinn had these guys working on those situational drill type of things, and those have been very helpful for us down the stretch because, I mean, these last few games have all come down to the wire. So shouts out to Dan Quinn for instilling that into this offense, Jaden Daniels, everybody, before the season even started. So now it just feels like it's natural, and now they've done it in games as well, so now the confidence is even higher. Come on, man, I love it. So shouts out to Disco for pointing that out as well. Now moving on to Trey Lance. Apparently, the Commanders will go against quarterback Trey Lance this week, who is said to have significant reps against the Commanders tomorrow. That's going to be really interesting. Shouts out to Ian Rappaport. He said the Cowboys have a decision to make on coach Mike McCarthy, but with the hay in the barn for the final game, sources say quarterback Trey Lance is expected to play his first significant snaps of the season. Pretty much the Dallas Cowboys have already given up. Their only thing is worrying about what they're going to do at head coach Mike McCarthy. His contract expires January 14th, and he's free to interview with the new team without a contract before then, all of that type of stuff. So the whole Mike McCarthy, who's going to be the head coach for the Cowboys next season, all of that's up in the air. But right now, they pretty much punted on the season. They know it's over. They feel no reason to even try to spoil us because there's not really much to spoil. I mean, you can maybe make us go from the 6th seed to the 7th seed, but it's not all of that important. So even the Cowboys don't even really care as a team to really try to beat us. So we'll see how that goes. But either way, it sounds like one thing that they do know is that Trey Lance will play some. And just to let you know, Ian Rappaport also pointed out the fact that from 2022 through 17 weeks of 2024, Trey Lance has thrown a grand total of only 20 passes. He may eclipse that total on Sunday. Big opportunity for him tomorrow on Sunday. And that is really interesting too. Trey Lance may end up throwing more passes in a single game against us tomorrow than he has his entire career. We'll see how that goes. And now also, before we get up out of here, I have a few more random updates. First of all, Dan Quinn said in his press conference back on January 1st, it's important to chase the number 6 seed because it still gives his team a chance to play at the home in the playoffs. Quinn said that he saw the power of home field advantage on Sunday night versus Atlanta, and he thought the crowd really gave the team a boost. And so it shouts out at Commanders Weekly because he quote tweeted that and said, "This is a far cry from, quote, we could be eliminated today," unquote. Remember Ron Rivera said that? And I mean, the juxtaposition between Dan Quinn and Ron Rivera is absolutely insane. I don't even know why the Jets are even trying to do that to themselves. But they already picked up Fadarian Mathis and Jamin Davis off of the waiver wire. So maybe they're already getting Ron Rivera's seat warm for him or whatever. Also, maybe some of y'all have been waiting this entire video for this part, but I wasn't necessarily sure how important this felt to y'all. But apparently, Albert Breer reported that the Vikings have spent nearly $2 million on tickets for Sunday night's big game at Ford Field. The NFL, per sources, says the team didn't actually break any rules to do it. So let me break this down to you. The Vikings spent $2 million on less than 2,000 tickets, roughly 1,000 a pop, and then sold them for around $200 to Vikings fans. So essentially, the Vikings are going to potentially take a $1.6 million bath to send less than 2,000 fans into the den of 60,000 Lions fans. I love that. They're going to try to at least even the score just a little bit. They bought some of the more important tickets that are roughly around $1,000 per ticket, and they're going to sell them to Vikings fans for only $200 just to encourage more Vikings fans to be at the game, to get some sort of to kind of tip the scales a little bit. It's probably going to still be like this, but at least it won't be like this. So, hey, man, shouts out to that. I think Josh Harris will do the same thing no matter who we play in this upcoming playoff game next weekend. Also, the Commanders captains for Week 18 in Dallas will be tomorrow, of course, Zach Ertz, the tight end, defensive end Dorrance Armstrong, and safety Percy Butler. Dorrance Armstrong makes sense because he's a former Cowboy, but Zach Ertz is interesting. I guess we're going to definitely try to force him the ball so he can get some of his contract incentives, even though I hope we do the same thing with Terry McLaurin as well, because he has some franchise records on the line for this upcoming game. We need to get him at least one more touchdown. And then Percy Butler is pretty random, but hey, man, shouts out to those guys there. Also, the Browns, after that loss to the Ravens, officially clinched a top 3 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Also, the New York Giants are now officially eliminated from contention for the number 1 overall pick. So at least we don't have to worry about getting that one. We'll see what pick they end up with by the end of Monday night, I guess. But hey, at least we don't have to worry about the Cowboys nor the Giants having the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Thank goodness. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release a informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like. And for your fact of the day, I'm sorry I wasn't able to do a video yesterday as in January 3rd, but I do have your fact of the day for January 4th. On January 4th, 1992, Ricky Irvins rushed for 104 yards and Gerald Riggs scored on a pair of short runs as Washington beat visiting Atlanta 24-7 in an NFC divisional playoff game the 1991 season. So there goes your random fact. Again, I'm going to try to give y'all a random fact or a trivia question. I'll give you the question at the beginning of the video, answer at the end of the video. I'm trying to do it every day. My grandma got me this calendar. I'm trying to remember to do this every single video because I'm supposed to be posting a video every single day. But yeah, man, I really appreciate y'all. Of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed this video. Please let me know how you feel about the whole Austin Ekeler situation. Do you feel like it's even worth playing him against the Cowboys? How you feel about the Lattimore situation? Do you feel like with Dan Quinn and everybody saying that he should be ready to go this upcoming playoff game, especially if it's against the Buccaneers? How important do you feel like he is as far as beating the Buccaneers, especially having to deal with Mike Evans? Also, let me know how you feel about, would you prefer to play the Los Angeles Rams or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And of course, let me know why. Also, let me know how you feel about all of the other injuries on the team. Let me know if you want Josh Harris and the Commanders to do something similar that the Vikings are doing to the Lions. Let me know how you feel about Dan Quinn and everybody, you know, all of these drills that they had set up way early in the offseason. We didn't think much of it. And then how all of the fruits to their labor are now starting to show right now. So let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video, man. I really appreciate y'all. Oh, and before we go, man, y'all already know this video was sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And please make sure y'all gamble responsibly if y'all don't do nothing else. I really appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm out.